bushings came in for the swing arm for the PF2 build. My buddy Ryan made these for me. Looking mint, so the swing arm should fit perfect on the frame now, if I got my calculations correct. If you guys saw my last video, I was taking measurements in between the swing arm and the frame just to make sure everything lined up perfect, because you got this rear motor mount that goes in here, and then you make sure that's spaced out right. I test fit them once just to make sure they would slide in there, so I didn't look like a dummy on video here, but so those are going to be in there. So these ones here weren't going to work with the setup anyway, but they're too big. They're 12 millimeter. These are 10 millimeter ID, and then you see how it's got the step in there that needs to be there so it doesn't move back and forth and hit the sides of the frame, so the side spars on the inside there. And then you got this rear motor mount that slides in. A few other things that I had to do to get this thing ready. So this is a BBR Super Comp chain slider. I had to fit it up on there, do a little cutting on the bottom, but I drilled and tapped a 6 millimeter hole right there for the top screw, and then underneath I drilled and tapped another hole right here, and then I had to trim a bunch of underneath there to get it to fit the way it needed to fit. And then the last thing that was already there was the hole on the side there. So luckily this one was already there and ended up kind of working out perfect, and the other two holes weren't there, so I got to drill them, but fits just like how it does on the Super Comps, so that should work out perfect. And then this thing that you hear banging around is a Slow Racer brake caliper mount that I'm going to end up using. I had to mill this down just a little bit, 0.5 millimeters, to get this thing to fit on there just like this, so now that's nice and tight, no movement. That'll work out perfect. And I got this spacer, nice aluminum spacer. I'm not sure what rims or wheels I'm going to be using yet, but I'll be able to cut this thing back if need be and then add some to this or whatever I gotta do. But I'm going to pull these things out, get these all greased up, and let's see how this thing looks on the bike. Always fun trying to get the motor mount in the right place. There we go. Should line up on that side. There we go. Just like that. Oh, I'll hook this thing on, a little bungee cord to hold that in place. So far so good. So this motor mount, I'm going to put it, slide it right where it needs to be, and I'm not going to fully tighten it down until I put that in there, but I'll go ahead and tighten it a little bit and then I'll show you guys how it looks. That's it. I'm not going to go too crazy right now, but look at that. So now it should be, I don't know if you can hear it, but like tiny bit of space. That's exactly what I want. So I can tighten down the pivot bolt as tight as it can go, and it's not going to pinch anything. There's still going to be a little bit of room. But once I put the shock in there, it'll be fine. Let this thing go down. So you can see right there. I get the bushing right up against the frame. Plenty of space right there on the rear motor mount. Lined up mint right there. And then same thing on there. We got space on there. Same thing on that side. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped with how this came out. Couldn't be any happier, honestly. Look at that on there, guys. Mint. Nice and tight. And then I got rid of the slop that would have been in there by adding a tiny bit on each side here, because when I took off the original swing arm, there was like, I don't know, a couple millimeters of space that the frame had to squeeze down on. So now it's actually perfect. The frame doesn't have to squeeze in at all, and then it lines up good on the motor mount back there. So I'm pumped. What do you think, guys? It should be pretty sweet when it's done. Can't wait to see. I got some ideas for wheels and stuff like that, but I haven't fully made up my mind yet. And then I got some fork guards on it. some plastic fork guards. I might make some carbon fiber ones eventually, but for now it's gonna be like that. Chain slider worked out good. Only other thing I gotta do is get a shock for it. I haven't figured out what shock I'm gonna run yet. I tried fitting the D&M, but it was hitting right here just because of the shock block, so it's a little bit different than how the PF2 swing arm is, or the angle of the lower shock mount on the PF2 swing arm. So I'll figure that out, get a shock for it eventually, figure out what I want to do with wheels, and then after that just a few more things. Obviously I'll pull this motor out, still working on the other motor, but these are the biggest pieces of the puzzle that I wanted to bang out, was the rear brake pedal and then the spacing for the swing arm. So with all that done, she's looking pretty dialed. I got this BBR chain guide for it from my buddy that made the bushings for the swing arm. The only thing it's missing is the 8mm adapters on the back side so I can mount it. If anybody has one laying around, like if you use this one and you're not going to use the 8mm version, I could definitely use it for this bad boy and get this thing bolted on there. I'm going to make a little spacer for that. I'm sure BBR doesn't sell either one of these pieces, so yeah, once I get that thing done, get a shock, figure out some wheels, it's coming together pretty good. So if you like this build and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Maybe share this video with a friend and let me know what you think in the comments of the swing arm. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Stay tuned for the next one.